The Ohio State University. Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking into Ohio State and the offseason. This is a new series on this channel in which we're going to take an in-depth look at individual teams in the NCAA and look at individually what you need to know during the offseason to get caught up for the 2018 season. The most noticeable changes to the Ohio State roster this year are going to be more on the defensive end. Ironically, mostly the defensive end position. From my research, I've gathered that there were 7 Ohio State players drafted, 2 in the first round, 1 in the second round, and 2 in the third. Despite the 7 drafted, probably the most noticeable change from the Ohio State roster is going to be the loss of redshirt senior JT Barrett, who didn't actually get drafted, but it looks like he got signed off the draft to the Saints. JT Barrett was, statistically speaking, the most productive quarterback in Ohio State program history. So obviously this is going to leave a huge hole in the quarterback position, so you can expect a big quarterback battle. This is going to be mainly between Tate Martell and Dwayne Haskins. The big difference between Haskins and Martell is that Haskins was a backup, and he did appear in a game against Michigan, and he performed very well there. But Martell is generally considered the more talented back. I personally think that Haskins is going to be more athletic. He's got a bigger frame, and he's also been in that position before. But I do think the starting job is going to end up going to Tate Martell. So let's go ahead and dive into these draft picks. For round 1, 4th overall pick was Denzel Ward, the star cornerback. He went to the Cleveland Browns. Rip Denzel Ward's career. That's a bash on the Cleveland Browns, not on Denzel Ward, by the way. With Denzel Ward leaving, of course, is going to leave a huge hole in the Ohio State secondary, mainly in the cornerback position. So you do have a little bit more room to play with in the cornerbacks as far as incoming players goes. They do still have a lot of talent coming out of Kendall Sheffield, Jeffrey Okudah, and Damian Arnett in the cornerback position. Please cut me some slack if I get any of those names wrong, by the way. So I don't personally see a lot of problems coming up in the 2018 season as far as cornerbacks go. But of course, it's always going to be a big hit losing a great player like Denzel Ward. The defensive end position is going to be a huge loss for Ohio State because if you know anything about Ohio State, that you know last year they had a nasty defensive line. And a lot of that was coming from the strength and the depth of position at the defensive end position. They had 3 defensive ends leave for the draft, which is insane. They had Tyquan Lewis, went 64th overall, Sam Hubbard, and Jalen Holmes. So immediately they just lost a whole lot of talent at that one position. But they still have Nick Bosa and Chase Young to kind of pick up the slack there. So that's going to be a big question mark on Ohio State's roster. I think the biggest positions to be watching over this season is going to be a lot on the defensive side with the defensive tackle, defensive end, linebacker, cornerback, and safety positions. But of course, we're going to be looking at who's going to be the next quarterback. Either way, they still have great quarterbacks to work with. And I'm sure that as soon as whoever's the starter, they're going to be immediately looked at for the Heisman race. But real quickly, I do have to say that Billy Price did go to the Cincinnati Bengals with the 21st overall pick. He was their center, and that's going to be a huge loss at the center position. So the center really could be a free-for-all. We really have no idea who's going to be filling that position, or at least I don't. So if you're really dedicated to projecting the Ohio State 2018 season, I would really recommend that you look into that center position. Of course, all of the references that I used are going to be linked in the description below. There's a whole lot of information there, and this is just kind of a brief summary of all of it. So if you're really looking for a lot of information for Ohio State, then you should definitely go check out those articles because they have a lot more in depth into each of those positions and the position battles individually. Now, looking out to the future, they do have an incredible recruiting class. Already for 2019, they have 9 commits, including 5-star wide receiver Garrett Wilson. Although all 2019 commits have the ability to switch teams. That's the bad news. Although the good news is that we're very early in and Ohio State is sure to see many more recruits coming in. As far as this year's recruits go, they did snag 5-star safety Tariq Johnson, who's going to be very useful in that secondary that's taking a big hit. They also snagged 5-star offensive tackle Nicholas Petit-Ferry, which I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that name right, but he's going to be very useful on the offensive line. They also managed to pick up 5-star defensive tackle Taron Vincent, who's going to be instrumental in picking up that defensive line. All in all, the big question marks here are going to be who's going to be the starting quarterback next year and how the defensive line is going to look. I think the secondary is going to be fine, although there are some question mark there, but that could be something to look into. And then, of course, the center is going to be a big free-for-all there. So if you're really looking for information, again, all of my references are linked below. I would definitely recommend checking those out if you're a really dedicated Ohio State fan. Other than that, like I said earlier, this is a brand new series that we're just trying out. So if you enjoy this video, if you enjoy the information that I gave, please make sure you leave a like and please consider subscribing. That just kind of helps me gauge out the success of the series and if I should continue doing these types of videos. If I missed anything or got any information wrong, please let me know in the comments below. I already know that you're going to be letting me know that I got all of the names pronounced wrong. That's completely fine. And also let me know in the comments what teams you want me to look at next. But as always, thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.
Barry looks.